Aloha. Good morning, everyone. It's Monday at 11 o'clock. We're the Neutral Zone. Welcome to our show. We are happy to be here. We have a terrific guest today, so please stay tuned. Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste. I've been around for a long, long year. So many men sold away. And I was around when Jesus Christ had his moment of doubt and faith. Made damn sure that Pilate washed his hands and sealed his face. Pleased to meet you. Hope you guess my name. But what puzzling you is the nature of my game. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jason Schwartz, and this is the Neutral Zone. MauiNeutralZone.com. You can go to Facebook, KAKU-FM Radio. You can go to MauiNeutralZone.com. Tomorrow, see this show and all the rest of our shows. We got some great guests. We have a terrific guest today. I'm staring him in the face. If you're watching on afterward, you can see we're on Facebook Live also. And so we put this and put it up on Akaku TV. We're everywhere. We're showing off our great radio station, the voice of Maui, KAKU 88.5 FM. And we have a guest that is really probably one of the most important people, he doesn't know this, so I'm surprising him, that I've met on my journey toward understanding that self-sustainability is not only a possibility, but is a reality right now. Ted Bowman, welcome to our show.
Thanks, Jason. I really appreciate it being here.
Ted, I met you because there was some email that said there's water from air. And I went up to Kula here in Maui, and out there I saw this machine, and I saw it creating water, and I saw you showing people the difference and all kinds of things, and I thought, well, this is really interesting. And I took my little video, had fun, but it really intrigued me. And then Vince Mina, who's a friend, who was the Hawaii Farmers guy, they had an event going on, and this unit was going to be there, and Ted was going to be there. This is Ted Bowman. And he was up there, and I went to see him, and I just suddenly realized when we spoke a couple of times, Ted has a company called Tsunami Products, and you have water from air machines. I'm calling it simply that, which means the atmosphere has moisture that can be condensed, and then everything, we all knew that when we were little kids in different ways. Well, now it's really been perfected. Tell us more about the basic lineup, because I know you have small, medium, large, and that's just step one in this watch, I'll show you about self-sustainability as we go, because this was an pretty innocent. We talk about water problem. Here's why don't we just grab it from the air? And as I learned, okay, the cost doing it, whatever. So you'll see as we go. But you're going to have to jump in because I can keep talking. Well, we can start talking. Okay. Ted, tell me more about your units.
Well, the water from air principle has been around for quite a while. Ever since refrigeration has been...
Get a little closer if you can.
Ever since refrigeration has been out there. The problem is with refrigeration is water, but we've looked at that in other people too before us. The actual water that's created from an air conditioning system can be reused. It's just pure water right out of the air. Given, maybe smoke issues and stuff, which can be filtered out. But it represents a new way of thinking in the whole area of water that's sustainable. Always going to be moisture in the air. In fact, and I won't go into the details of the climate change, but with the climate change, there's actually more moisture in the air. So what it does is it makes the machines more efficient per liter of production.
So you were talking about these machines. What I saw in your demonstration, which was small, that was a unit that can do, 100 gallons a day?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have what do we call a 500 unit, just for the sake, it's about a 5-ton system, a little bit more. Here on Maui,
5 ton, you compare it to like
5 ton is air conditioning. You're
okay.
Exactly. So, for example, in Washington State, over in eastern Washington, where we actually have the plant, we produce about 4 gallons an hour in the summer, 90 degrees, 80 degrees, 90 degrees. Low moisture. Bring that same machine over here to Hawaii, we produce about 4 gallons per hour for the same energy input.
You said 4 there.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me. 2.5 gallons. I'm confusing.
So the difference, 2.5
to 4. Our
so
other unit was the larger unit. They're what we call like a 1,000 or slash an RDH.
And so these kind of number of gallons. So if someone wanted to have fresh water for drinking and cooking and everything, they don't really need to rely on a central system.
Correct.
Unless maybe they go to a larger unit and share it. Can they share it with families in a larger kind of unit
They
too?
can. In fact, I just came back from a demo trip down south where we were achieving about 3 times the volume that we actually do here even on Maui.
South. Where's south? South.
We had one, the one showing was down along the southern Gulf, Louisiana.
3 times the volume. And that's 12. So in a very moist atmosphere condition,
Right.
you can just bring water down. So,
Yep, because it's exponential in nature up to total
so
saturation.
if you were someone like, let's just say, our new landowner of 40,000 acres, and you're having issues with water, or you're a homeowner, or you're looking to build things, and you're a builder, you could use your kind of systems to put into a 30-year mortgage. How much is one of these for the home?
The small, the 500, I think is running about 14,500.
So the 500 is the model number, but
Yeah.
so the one that does about 4 gallons an hour. That's awesome. No, so and you can get bigger systems. You guys were dropping them. You were talking about dropping them into military and other zones and things.
Originally, the units we had developed, the larger units, were for humanitarian relief projects where the military or the government could drop these things in.
I see.
As an airlifted process with their generators and whatnot. They're not really, the bigger ones are not really going to work on solar because it takes an enormous amount of solar panels, obviously. But the smaller ones, actually, for the home unit, this 500 that we developed, was to run either grid power or generators or solar.
So here, I hope you guys are listening with me. We can get water from the air generated through solar power. We now know we can also have solar for electricity. Of course, we're all very energy conscious, but even for the gluttons, the ones that you put this into a 30-year mortgage, it's immediately cost effective.
Right.
Immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So, wow, I guess that's why you're here. The other piece that was so exciting when I met you, not only are you really upstanding, and I could tell I was involved in talking about HHO, hydrogen, and I'm realizing that's powerful. But when I realize that all incorporates so naturally with what you're doing, you can create water from air. That means self-sustained medical systems can happen from this. I mean, I'm off on a tangent, but in the very basic, and we all can have decentralized water, decentralized power, and in an area. You're talking also about, you have another product. This is extremely interesting company. You have this thing with produce. What's all that about? And take me through that scenario.
Well, what we're looking at, one of the machines that we have, it's basically the acronym, it's RDH machine, which is regenerative humidification process. And so what that does is a unit goes inside of greenhouses and will pull the moisture out of the greenhouse and reuse that water. Can go straight into the plants again for irrigation, or they can go through a fish system where they actually fertilize the water, use it long term. The benefit of these machines is you can not only produce the water that's in the greenhouse, you actually can control the climate because the discharge temperature of the air is very cool. So high heat in greenhouses is a big problem. So what they do is they typically open up vent systems, which then potentially can bring in pathogens along the ground, such as blight and issues like that, different kinds of virus known to the plants, right? By using our system, that air is all purified coming into the greenhouse. Through the machine, water comes out, then that cold air that's discharged will drop the temperature of the greenhouse, thus eliminating the need for the ventilation. So our whole engineered design is to make greenhouses more profitable by keeping the plant from, having issues, viruses, destruction.
So here I am. I'm thinking again. I may find that product I'm thinking about. when I was there, livestock. How do you feed livestock? You were showing a demonstration there that day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was the same unit with a greenhouse, or that was another product.
Yeah.
Where you could create seed and use seed and create feed for animals, and also could create seed and sprout them and create food to be able to create self-sustainability in a very small area. And if you can control temperatures and you can get water, and we're talking about self-sustainability.
Right.
My original nonprofit vision was to promote art and music and culture and educate people about environment and renewable energy toward creating self-sustainability model, Maui as an example. Well, Maui, that was 25 years ago. Here we are 25 years later, and now everything, I ran for mayor, Green Party, and I was considered radical. But in fact,
you are radical.
I am radical. I'm radically was on target because, here we are now. Right. You're saying, here's someone that can deliver the goods, everything you said. And you even had a model. I had a great guest on here. Tapani Vuore is the general manager of the Maui Ocean Center, the aquarium here in Malaya. And Ted had mentioned to me that he was looking at some kind of a project, and in this project there were these spheres, domed. And so I went around just looking at the site, and one of the workers asked me what I wanted, and suddenly I had the general manager, and he gave us in probably an hour's time a tour of that facility. We're going to talk about it because that's a whole separate project that you have. To me, that everything that this guy touches is like, each one is like gold and silver. I say this guy. I know it's like it's sparking everything in me. Take a sphere, like the dome at the aquarium, and turn it into a size for a home, right, and have be produce and be able to create self-sustainable food for a family, even more than they can use, so it could be an income for a family.
Right. Interesting, and I appreciate Tapani letting us tour that plant while it was under construction.
Yeah.
The domes represent something that we were initially wanting to take into southern Sudan after they had their war for 20-something years. But more than that, we begin to realize is that the domes have a better effect or better use in areas where the climate is more sustainable, like in the tropics. Hurricanes, these are hurricane-proof, tornado-proof, fire-proof. The interesting thing about the dome is they have such a long-term lifespan. They're cheap to build. Obviously, the one at the aquarium down there is a pretty major-sized dome. But most of these domes can be constructed, in general sense, for about $150 a square foot nowadays. Some of the other ancillary services to that dome, you can double it out, you can triple it out, just connect it with tunnels.
What does double it meaning? Have
it's basically, I guess
spheres?
you'd scale it, or numbers of spheres, however you want to do it. The company in Texas had actually developed this back in the 70s, monolithic.org. Heavy into the dome industry. Fertilizer plants, I think Texas AT&T Stadium was a dome built by them. A lot of the churches and refuge centers and different things. Just an amazing type of a process, but it's longer term. The cool thing about the domes is you can actually modify them after you build them or during the process to where actually they don't even look like domes, but they still are structurally. And dome being the strongest building that you can actually get physically for physical strength.
Wow, so you put all these pieces together. A home, sounds like more affordable home. So someone looking to have a model for affordable.
Right.
And efficient. So in small area, people could maintain their own privacy and separateness, yet be linked together if they want through modules being connected of different sizes, different distances. They could have the produce, their power, their water.
Right.
So that means we can use land in a whole new, I don't want to say new, kind of all the land that was the junk land becomes the place to build so that the other open land can stay open.
Right, and exactly that, because with the greenhouse dome, the greenhouse sphere, we looked into doing that with a dome as well. The shape, it's actually hurricane proof. One of the things with the the hurricane season always seems to hit when people got their produce ready to go, and so this kind of negates that, that problem.
I'm here with Ted Bowman, Ted of Tsunami Products. We are on KAKU 88.5 FM on your dial. I'm Jason Schwartz. Ted, you're right about all that stuff, and it's just very exciting when I hear that you have all of it in one place. What always intrigues me as we've been speaking is you're so off the cuff about this. You really treat it like it's just an average thing, but it is not an average thing to me. And on this island, we're going to be speaking a little bit, then we're going to be coming back and maybe getting into some specifics about some of the projects and some of the products. But on this island, the things that you say so matter-of-factly could solve major problems on Maui in so many areas. You and I, before the election, even Mayor Arakawa was in place, you and I had opportunity to go see Stuart Stanton, Mike Nakagawa, I think it was his name.
Yeah, I think
at the environmental and waste spot there at the county.
Wastewater management.
And I found that just even in the ideas that you have off the cuff of things that aren't even your product line, you're like a wealth of information about systems and have worked so. I guess you're a general contractor also?
Actually, I'm an industrial engineer, design engineer. But most of this stuff that we see here on Maui, my wife and I spent about 10 years in East Africa in western Kenya. You could see the bush from our backyard, so that's how close we were out of the cities and the towns. But anyways, we saw a lot of different problems, a lot of issues that could have been solved with just an ease of change of mentality or thought process. Technology's there, technology's everywhere if you really want to drag it in. But a lot of people, they couldn't get to that level of saying, wow, this could really work well in our community. They did like what we brought in, but unfortunately, the training system was a little bit lax on their part for what they could actually learn about this without us setting up an education system. But however, when I came to Hawaii here and looked at different places, especially on Maui, even Lanai and stuff that they need, even though they're developed to some extent, we saw that everything that we try to promote in the Eastern African countries, or like Tanzania and Sudan, South Sudan, could actually be done here. And, I'd have to live to be 300 years old to be able to do it all myself. But the way I see it is to get people involved that have desire to explore those different opportunities. They're not problems. They actually are opportunities unsolved. And so it's a different way of looking at it. But with the aspect that the sugar industry left only 3 years ago, basically, it's almost as if Maui's agricultural system and housing development is starting over.
Just so you know, when you get closer, you have more presence, so you get lost when you get too far away. That's
okay.
All.
So
Maui's, we're starting over in, I want to say, the bread basket, but it hasn't even been our bread basket.
Yeah.
It's been stripped away. I mean, never mind the issue of Hawaiian-ness of it all.
Yeah.
But it's been stripped away and been mostly sugar cane. This company that's now in there, I imagine they would love to obviously have rights to water, and that's nothing to stop.
The water machines typically are for potable use, drinking water and whatnot, because of the cost of production per liter. Right now, depending on where the power is coming from, but here on Maui, I think you guys are at about 50 cents per kilowatt hour. We can actually, these machines will produce water at about anywhere between 3 and 5 cents a liter. When you're looking at larger numbers of that, obviously the price it goes up, but then the bigger the machine, the more efficient it is because of the technology we have inside that machine. One of the things that we're looking at is different ways to harvest water away from conventional refrigeration with Freon. Those are some of the things I want to try to exploit the ideas on Maui and some of the other islands. There's some unique microclimates that allow this to take place, minimizing the impact with actually no electricity at all, other than solar-generated pumps and stuff. So those are things for another conversation topics.
No, but I mean, we have time to explore. I mean, I think as we're explaining this, I mean, we know the concept of taking water from air and condensation. That's clear. And then we know the process of people have gotten used to, 25 years ago when I was trying to tell people, they didn't know we're talking about power from the sun to heat water or to create electricity or heat other fluids, all kinds of things like that. We're able to get water from the air. We're able to create systems that create independent from a grid that really, in the bush, makes sense, price is high, but when I first came here, I always talked about utility of scale, that if way back then, solar electric was not cost efficient. So when we talk about these subjects, they all really fit together because we're all trying to solve a problem here. And you seem to have it, like I said, you have answers. When I was there with Stuart Stanton and Mike, you really filled in the gap and made clear things that, to me, really showed me that someone like yourself and the things that you're developing, I can tell. They all integrate, they make sense, and they respect the idea that we're on an island. But in that pursuit, we have money here to do it. Whereas in Kenya, Tanzania, is a different circumstance.
Right.
So we have all the things that could make this a reality. I would like to propose, and I hope you guys will keep me to it, that you either come back here or we can go meet people in our council and the mayor, if he'll have us, to talk about overall look at these systems as an independent, meaning somehow when people are running the whole game, they don't stand back like playing chess. If you're one of the pieces, it's tough to really see what's going on in the game when you're a rook or a knight.
Yep.
But so I really think that the insights that we share need to be shared with some of these people, and I think that they are open to it. Because even when you're talking numbers and scale of things, just in our conversation, you cross a lot of modalities, you cross a lot of areas that somehow have to work together, that you recognize and take, like I said, you take them as very casual. I think of you as the genie in the lamp. You're able to.
I don't know about that, but
no, but I mean,
but no, it is true. There's always been a breakdown when they used to ask me, well, why did you go to this specialty or that specialty? But what I found was in the business over the years, I've been an industrial engineer for almost 40 years. The breakdown is that in an industrial phase, it's compartmentalized. Agriculture actually is less compartmentalized comparatively because farmers have to do everything from soup to nuts. And so what I began to realize is there was a real disconnect between the need and the solution. And I know that sounds kind of ambiguous, but what it is basically it's a bridging effect of trying to take all the necessary ideas, bridge them to the problem sources, and make sure that the local establishment can deal with that. In other words, we can say, well, if we had $1 million, we could do this or do that. But within those areas, they don't have that ability of money, funding. So they have to go, okay, what's the old saying? Necessity is the mother of invention.
Right.
And so that really holds true, especially I see here in Maui, because there's a first world capacity with the ingenuity and the things they have, but the problems are the same as a third world country that we experienced for 10 years.
Right.
Not that people are less intelligent, but they don't have the opportunity to see we could solve the problem with this or with this or with this, and not have to bring in $1 billion worth of assets to do it. There's a lot of potential by, I'm not really, I won't call myself an organic farmer mentality, because we know that won't work overseas in a lot of areas because you don't have the established manure, you don't have the established grains available, But here they're available within, a few days from the coast. So the cool thing about Maui is almost everything we experienced over there can be done here, and it can be done at a very economical level because they do have infrastructure already existing. It's just a matter of putting the puzzle together. So I'm trying to really get people involved to do that in their own specific compartment, if you will.
Well, in about a minute or two, we're going to be going to break, so I don't want to get too heavy into it. But when we come back, I would like to have you run me through a typical scenario, which we'll be looking at with home and developer, because I want to lightly look at the numbers to be able to give something hard so that people will really look seriously at this.
Yeah, we can.
And I would like to invite our audience to get ready to get your questions, so we'll have Ted back, because I really meant it. You really are an answer man. Ted Bowman of Tsunami Product. When I look at your website, I learned so much just reading about these. You can put it in a home, but you can also have it large scale, and you can link them together, and there should be no water problem on Maui. No one should ever say that word again.
Exactly.
So when I hear these things, no one should ever say that we can't keep open space because you can't use that area because we need distribution. Never hear that again. No power distribution needed, no water distribution needed. Take care of wastes, use them for growing. I am so turned on by just the whole thing that you're talking about, and I would never have known that, except I just happened to really found it fascinating, that water from air. That's why I brought it up as the grabber. We're going to tell you another thing that's going on that's going to be happening soon with this, but we'll save that for the second part. I'm going to get ready here and let the people that support our radio station and support this thing here with me be seen and heard, and then we'll come back and get into some of that fun stuff. Is that okay?
Sounds good. Thanks.
Okay. Ted Bowman, Tsunami Products, Jason Schwartz, MauiNeutralZone.com. Be right back. The Neutral Zone with me, Jason Schwartz, would like to sincerely thank David Bryan for his support. David was founder and head of school at New Road School in Santa Monica, California, and is the board chair at the Ojai Foundation and on the board for Brave New Films. The Neutral Zone is heard live Mondays at 11 a.m. here on KAKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui, and again on Saturdays at 7 a.m., as well as on TV and on MauiNeutralZone.com. The Neutral Zone, with me, Jason Schwartz, would like to thank Maui Arts and Music Association, Treemakers Foundation of Maui, for their support. Since 1991, with hundreds of television shows and their MauiArtsandMusic.com website, they have championed self-sustainability on Maui. The Neutral Zone is heard live Mondays at 11 a.m. and replayed Saturday at 7 a.m. on KAKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui.
Get a jump on protecting Maui's coral reefs. No need to wait for Hawaii's new sunscreen law to go into effect. This is Archie Kalepa asking you to make the switch today to sunscreens that do not contain reef-harming oxybenzone or octanoxate. Find out about better choices at mauireefs.org/sunscreen. Sponsored with Aloha by Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, Maui Visitors Bureau, and the County of Maui Office of Economic Development.
If you love them enough to turn off your music and pretend like their music is your music.
This is Mommy's jam.
Then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Scientists have discovered a biosphere deep underground. It's dark, it's alive, and it's smelly.
Yeah, it would smell really terrible because a lot of the deepest life that we found produces sulfide, which smells like rotten eggs.
Life thriving in unexpected places on the next Big Picture Science.
Wow, that was fun. This is 88.5 FM, KAKU, the voice of Maui. I'm Jason Schwartz, your host of The Neutral Zone, MauiNeutralZone.com, Facebook.com, KAKU FM radio. You can find us at MauiNeutralZone.com the next day with all our shows. You can find us on YouTube. But all of that boils down to the guest at hand. I've said this so many times, I almost sound like, and we have a great guest today. I've had some great guests, and one of the greatest guests, and I don't want to put you on this pedestal, but again, when I speak to you, I see visions. And to me, that means it confirms what I know. And that, Ted, is there are answers to all these problems. What I said it 25 years ago, we could have kept Maui at a different stage. I was Green Party guy running for mayor, but the fact is, I was not radical at all. I basically, right now, the ideas that I've been sharing, others share and carry banners, and sometimes I think they kind of forget that I even am around. But it all ties together to be an environmental economic model that really seats in how does it serve the people and the local people. And when you're talking about being able to take large fields and deal with that in some ways, but you're talking about self-sustainable in small units, as small as a family unit,
right,
or development of group of people or bigger. You're talking about self-sustainability like everyone dreams of on this island and can be here right now. You have a demonstration that I know you have planned, don't you?
Yeah, we've got, we're going to be setting up the water machine somewhere locally. We haven't actually scheduled it yet. We might even go over to the tropical plantation when they have the Hawaiian farmers meeting over there.
Oh, good.
I've yet to schedule that with the powers to be, but I think we'll probably have another year like we did last year. I may not be there personally, but one of my partners here, a local guy, Peter Higa, and through Peter, he was born and raised here. We met when he was over on the mainland for a while. Very interesting, very resourceful, very sharp. Knows a lot about the situations here on the islands, not just Maui, but all the islands. Peter was retired out of the military a few years back, so we have a few things in common. We've got some different products we're going to be trying to put on the market. So
I just have my mouth
you're going to ask
open.
the question. That being housing, that being some housing, we've got a model that we're trying to do up country. There's some things going that are delayed, but basically, if everything goes as we're hopeful for, up in the homestead districts or areas, I guess is what you call it.
Here's how let me describe it, because I saw it in action. When this demonstration, I went to see water were there were some Hawaiians there. And there's a Hawaiian homestead area up there that you are developing a relationship where they're going to be putting land aside for a demonstration of just what we're talking about, a combination of all these elements that create a self-sustainable model. To me, the fact that you might be able to lead with Hawaii and being an example gives the Hawaiians yet another opportunity to express themselves and to share their native and natural concepts and really be a major step up. That would be like a global focus. But that's secondary to the fact that this is what I've been dreaming of, a self-sustainability model.
And, with that, the self-sustainability, we use that term kind of a lot here these days in America, not just in Hawaii. But true self-sustainability doesn't necessarily mean that you set it in motion, it's perpetual. It's more about the fact that in the old days, the farms were handed down to the next generation. And because the cost or the value, I guess, or the production or whatever you want to call it, economically, the kids didn't want it. And so they went into other vocations. They said, I don't want to do what my dad did and struggle to death. And so we've kind of lost that deal. I'm an FFA kid, Future Farmers of America, way back in the 70s. I date myself a little bit, but I still feel young, even though I'm gray.
Ray, look who you're talking to.
But anyways,
Sonny.
Yeah. So with that in mind, there's been a lag in the training of potential new farmers coming up. They look at it now as a corporate farm. For example, when I was a kid, we milked about 350 head of dairy cattle in the Pacific Northwest over towards Linden, up close to the border. Those days, the average farm was 250, 300. Then 10 years later, it went up to like 2,000. And now they've had to go up to that level because the volume of milk had to go up because the profit margins went down. Same way with the big farmers back in the Midwest. The price of a combine's gone up tenfold, and the price of a bushel of wheat stayed about the same. So all those new things, it's bringing a new change in how we see farming. I think Maui could represent a real model for the rest of the world, because literally speaking, you take a 30 or 40 foot diameter greenhouse dome that we like to look at, because they're more manageable. They're windproof, they're hurricane-proof, all the things I said before. That represents something that a farmer or just a homeowner with his family, maybe he's got 2 kids, they can grow the equivalent on 1 acre with that dome that they could on 10 or 15 out in the normal environment, and then they risk damage, windstorms, bugs, all those things.
I want to repeat that because that's very powerful. So in 1 acre of dome, is that what you're saying?
Well, a 1 acre parcel where there's a home and a dome, this is what they're trying to propose up the country, yeah.
But on that, you can have the equivalent growth that you could have in 10 or 15 acres of field?
Depending on, obviously, that's kind of a
at least
a long
10
shot.
times.
But the point being is it's continuous. Like, for example, if you have greenhouses are known for growing vertical. It's protected, controllable.
So that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, just that alone, I can't imagine why that isn't. Why isn't it happening right now?
Well, I think because it's a newer technology. It's the old, like I said, the old farmers of I can make it on 300 head of cattle, and they could back in the 70s.
Have you had occasion, for example, on an island to talk to Lucienne Dene, Sierra Club gal, or Albert Perez from Maui Tomorrow, or any of these guys?
No, I haven't yet. I'm trying to establish here.
Al was on our show, and Lucienne will be on. These are people that are visible in our community, as there are numbers of people, active environmental and social leaders, but environmental leaders who might really enjoy seeing for the future. We've seen some plans through Maui Tomorrow. What would happen if this was added into bringing the numbers more in line, where someone, here I go, my wild brain, someone who has the land and owns the land, or again, I'm putting the Hawaiian issue aside, but right now, if land that has an owner, large owner, if that owner would go to a bank, he can get all the money he wants, right? So if he partners with potential builder and potential owners or long-term rent, whatever it be, of these domes, the financing is already potentially here.
Right. And that's one of the key factors of this whole thing is we're not coming in as a corporation from the mainland. I mean, I'm actually making plans to relocate here for indefinite time because I know I need to be here on a daily basis. But what we're looking at long-term is not so much to try to market our wares like a traveling salesman, but more we're looking at setting up training modules long-term with these programs, with the homesteads and whatnot.
See, it sounds
train
like
from
me.
within.
I talk about self-sustainability modeling from Maui. Like I say, it's as if when I was looking for the part of science that come down from the heavens and have all the answers, you're really leading into an area that works so well with the people on our island who do care and know about it, who would like, I'm sure, would love to be able to incorporate. Now, I know that Vince Minna would be a good guy also to help coordinate with some of these guys.
I know Vince. One of the things that we look at, too, to carry it even further, growing a pile of tomatoes isn't going to make you rich. But growing a pile of tomatoes on a regular basis that you contract with some type of a cannery process, which can actually be put up on island too, now all of a sudden it's self-sustainable in the long run, because not only are they producing food locally, they're also producing it statewide or for the statewide use and ending a lot of the importing from the mainland. That's my main goal.
Isn't that what these guys at Mahi Pono, the big new buyers of the 41,000 acre, that's what they're proposing, that they've done it somewhere else?
Yeah, and the thing is they're looking at shipping it off island. I think some of that, I don't know all the details. Other
Nor
than
do I, but I think I'm using that as an example to say.
So there are buyers looking for food.
But there are other people, if you can take just an acre or two and be self-sustainable, that to me puts the heat on it. It lets Mahi Pono know they better do something to make sense, because people can become self-sustainable and not really, if they are not they should be partnered, in my mind. They should be partnered in creating these self-sustainable models. Maybe they'll be the ones that get all the produce that comes out of the line that is excess. I mean, this whole model could really...
Yeah, because it's got to be a desire from within. You can't, and that's what we learned living in East Africa. The people really didn't have a desire. And sad to say, that's because of the multiple billions of dollars that have been poured in those countries. They never really trained. They kind of trained in modules, but they really didn't, because they didn't get down to the people's level to say, what do you want to see with your country or your area or your village or whatever. But unlike that here, I think there's enough drive from the local force to begin to realize that the kids coming up through the years through college, like, no, I'm going into agriculture because I can go back home and make a mint. And so, and then have self-sustainability, so I don't have to worry about working a second job and a fourth job and a sixth job.
And quality of family life goes up.
Exactly.
Quality of community goes up.
Mm-hmm. And that's what the real self-sustainability is. It's from the core level. It's not about whether we use plastic or not use plastic. It's about what we do with what we can actually create. The other things, the issue with the renewable energies and stuff like this, that's kind of a symptom to the issue. But the fact that maybe we don't have the use of fossil fuel, we don't want to use it because it's going to go away eventually, or we don't want to cloud up our atmosphere, whatever the case may be, I think it's a matter of using wise technology. That's really what the self-sustainability is about. I know that sounds kind of ambiguous, but it really comes back to the onion layer type principle, where everybody says, oh, this is a problem, oh, that's a problem, and you keep digging down through the layers and you realize, oh, this is a problem. The core is we don't have a reason to stay here and develop because there's nothing there. And I think the fact is that when you dig really deep, you begin to realize there is enough resource here on these islands to do anything they want and to be totally non-controlled, if you will, from the coast, the mainland coast, with their importing and stuff. That's my opinion.
No. And within reasonable amount of time, it could happen.
Right, just a few years,
overnight, but just
it's not going to take a generation. It can happen within 2, 3, 4 years.
So the cries that we hear about self-sustainability and such, and we want to ground it in how it will apply and be able to be applied. I guess it would be good that we be seen and talk to the people in the county and talk about making building plans and understandable, and be able to create new zoning, all kinds of things.
One of the things that I noticed, and it's maybe other people have seen it before I did, but you've got to have food, shelter, clothing, and water. And those things, maybe not in that specific order, but those are the things that if you can address those immediately, now your brain can start thinking about, okay, how can I build or grow? But when every day is a fight just for those survival basics, you don't have time to think outside the box. It's about status quo thing. It's like, nah, I got to get beyond that. So with this principle of having a home and a greenhouse dome, or dome greenhouse, water machines that can be ran where you don't have solar energy. People can come in, they can develop their own homes, their lives. Now they can start thinking outside the box of how I can develop a income generation. In other words, not just about growing food for your own consumption, but now how can I multiply this? How can I duplicate this and then sell some of that? That's truly what we're talking about here. It's going backwards on our system approach in America, instead of having somebody rely on somebody else to give me what I need. It's about doing it yourself, and doing it in such a way that you make a profit when you do it.
Well, you see, to me this is just perfect. Maui, we hopefully will grab some of this technology and be using it here. But if we can have a demonstration from here, and through this Maui Arts and Music thing, share it to the world where they can see it and implement it everywhere, we truly are like turning on light bulbs all around the world. And if we all will start using these technologies, and we'll be a great example. We're the most remote landmass in the world, so if we can create that kind of model here, with the help of all the people that could help point their light on this, I hope that this has great success.
Well, another, one of the things that we talked about earlier, I didn't go into detail, but is an example of this sprouted fodder production machine. We don't actually make seeds, but we take seeds in sack form that's available, readily available. In fact, you can even get it here in town, some of the ag stores. Right. Those seeds represent about a 5% absorption, if you will, when the cows or the animals or whatever chickens are given that. But running it through a 1 week of this fodder processing to where you actually sprout those seeds, grains, it becomes 28 to 30%. And I have to say that tongue in cheek because I don't know the exact percentage, but I know it's 4 to 5 times more.
In volume?
Well, it's in volume, but also the uptake, the usability for the nutrition to the animal. So we had these units developed for overseas where they were going through droughts. One of these smaller units that we design, you seed the first tray today, next one tomorrow. By the end of the 7th day, the 8th day, you come back and harvest the first seed tray, take off the fodder, which is about 6 inches tall now, with a massive root mass underneath. You feed that entire thing to the animals, and then you reseed it. So basically, you have now animal feed 365 days a year. This particular size unit is the equivalent of 3 to 4 acres of pasture land of what it produces. So now you don't need the big land masses to be able to grow your own animals. Chickens, rabbits, everything goes with it. There's some hay maybe depending on the animal. But the point being is that this represents something that you can have, and a person can be a farmer immediately if he has a small amount of acreage. He doesn't have to go out and spend $2-3 million on 10 more acres. He can do this on his own land, as long as it's zoned properly, because I know there's a lot of details there, but this is a general idea. These things do work. We didn't invent them.
How big is something like this?
This unit, basically, the small unit is a 6 foot by 9 foot by about 93 inches tall, 8 feet tall. The Canadians have
one of these,
perfected
you just said something about acres. This produces, say that again?
3 to 4 acres of pasture land.
Equivalent in one machine like this.
Yep.
So now let's take I'm blown away. See why I say he has all the answers, everything you talk about.
Well,
that to me seems like such a no-brainer that people would just be running. Are you selling out every day with these machines? I imagine.
No, they take a while to build. But the thing about these machines is it controls the moisture. It reuses the water in there. It can pull water out of the air and it filters it through.
So
it's all tied in with the water.
It's all
about water.
Ties together.
Right.
So here on a small parcel of land, if you were a farmer or even just a farmer for your own, I guess your own use. What if you don't like to slaughter animals and you don't have that kind of thing in your movie?
Well, once again, that's the whole point of developing agriculture, is so that it can be funneled into multiple people that can benefit from that in the slaughterhouses, in the processing plants, on and on and on. Eggs, if you want to just do it for eggs.
So you don't have to do it in your own house. You can take the product that you've got. And like you said earlier about contracting, this can all be done where someone can walk into one of these quote models and have a self-sustainable, I want to say buying a house that cash flows, buying without making the rent so high. That sounds great for everybody, no matter where they live.
Right.
By the way,
and they're portable. They're portable as well. They're not a lot of weight. They pull them in on a trailer, set them off on the ground, and there's basically a.
That was the product I was talking about earlier, about being able to make seed.
Yeah, actually take a bag, a 50-pound sack. You basically soak the stuff the night before in a just to make sure the pathogens are off. Put a little bleach water in it, like you would in your clothes, and so that kills everything. You spread it out, and the 3rd day it's sprouting, and it doesn't have to have any light other than just to turn it green, because by the time the 7th day rolls around, now it's looking for light to make the chlorophyll process happen to where it makes an actual plant. But you feed it right at that point, so the animal can digest it. It's much more palatable.
Could you grow things in there that are, I'm just looking, we have about 10 minutes left, so we're good. Can you grow things in there that isn't for an animal? Sure.
We looked at that. When you get into human consumption directly, there's some issues with the FDA that you have to look at. Yeah.
Who's creative, like having a
if I needed it, I'd eat it myself. But
kitchen,
right.
I see.
So those are some of the things we're looking into that, but it's, that's kind of down the line. We're looking at addressing the first problem first. The biggest thing with what you're talking about is those are more down the chain for development. The further down the chain, the more value you have to add to it, the more issues you have to overcome. Not that it's not doable, but it's very specific. And so now you run into a potential competition base. So what we're looking at is just trying to help people to develop the first line of production or self-sustainability. Along with that, a lot of people were saying, well, we don't even have any property to build a home with because we can't get a permit for water. Sure. And so we've actually looked at these, the monolithic domes obviously are long-term, but the tiny homes, tiny houses are big now. And so we're actually developing a network here where we can actually put water machines built into those homes so that the whole package can be financed and placed. I'm not definitely sure about the permitting issues, but we're trying to make it feasible so that a person can conceivably have a home for under $60,000 that makes its own water. They can run off LED lights from the solar system. If they need a wind generator to hook up to that, we're looking at a specific type of a device that uses a gas power, but that generator is highly efficient. It's come back on the market. It was in the bankruptcy several years ago. One of the colleagues of mine, he's redeveloping that whole industry, uses about 1/4 of the horsepower requirements for the same amount of output, just on the nature of the electronics, on and on and on. So a lot of these things we're working through Higa Homes, Higa Industries, where we've developed that. So in the next probably 6 months or less, we'll actually have some of those homes on the market people can look at as models. So like I said, we're trying to get people to spur their inner thoughts, if you will, and look, hey, I want to come back into this area and develop this in my life. I want to stay on Maui. I don't want to have to travel here and there. And
like I said, all you around the world that are watching this, watch our example. And if you want, you can probably try to catch some of this and be in your community even before. But tsunamiproducts.com. Is there another website they should be looking at? Anything?
We're going to be showing the actual effects of the water machines. We've developed a company called Kalani Water from Air.
Is that at kalaniwater.com?
Yeah, it's www.kalaniwater.com. So we took that name. I don't know how it ties in with the water part, but it's kind of a catchy name.
Someone told me Lani is heaven, so Kalani must be. Those Hawaiians out there have to help me, please. But I understand it's from heaven.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it has to do with that.
And it's water coming from there. Yep. And it's going to be bottled and available to people.
Yeah, we'll be bottling it on the island. So we'll have we'll first start out with some restaurants that we know, and then try to make it available as we open up vendors locally. And we're trying to, for the most part, we'll be competitive. It's not going to be an expensive process.
Yeah.
Or product, I should say. So it'll be competitive to where we're not trying to step on anybody or anything.
No, that's wonderful.
So that's good.
So, and it'll teach people more about the water from air and get them really acquainted with the whole thing.
Also, I will note, as part of the organic or the green crowd, I'm learning, we actually are going to be developing our own recycling processing for the used bottle. So people come in, scan the code, they throw it in the machine, it grinds it. We come and collect that plastic, and then we reuse that plastic. So it's actually on island. We don't ship that stuff off anywhere.
Isn't that what? But see, all these good ideas. We're going to have to be independent consultants to the county, I think. That's what's going to have to be. Or at least be meeting them and see maybe they'll take advantage. And also some of these private people we talked about, big landowners and people who can make some of these projects happen. Mm-hmm. I hope to be able to see that happen. We got about 3.5 minutes. If I had 3.5 minutes and I was Ted Bowman, what would I want to talk about? Make sure these people get a feeling for.
I guess one of the things that's kind of my pet desire, if you will, no pun intended, is to, after we get up and running, to try and help people understand about the potential for high-density fish farming, especially with catfish. That's pretty much the unique species that will grow under captivity. These fish, under high-density conditions with a set of tanks, which basically you can put in the size of a bathroom, actually, a little bit bigger. These, you can actually, through a process, these fish will actually grow ultra fast and ultra large in those high density areas and don't require hardly any input other than the feedstocks, which we're working on that locally to produce those types of natural feedstocks. Basically, somebody could have a combination of a greenhouse and now an ancillary business of growing fish for that market as well.
And I've never thought about fish here with the island having water all around it. But I guess things out there in the ocean are all radioactive, so controlling your own flow. Catfish it is?
Catfish. A lot of people think it tastes cruddy, but actually catfish taste based on what you feed them. So if they're not groveling in the dirt and the mud, they actually are very flavorful. Ask any southerner and they'll tell you if it's farm raised.
Well, that wasn't what I was thinking that you would be talking about, but that's good. Ted Bowman, you are really a wealth of knowledge and your products and all that you're doing. I hope people will check out what you're doing. I'm sure they will. How could they not? I'm so intrigued by you. You've been really a great guest. I hope you'll come and join us again.
Thanks. I'd like to.
Things progress.
We'll appreciate that.
And we have, oh, goodness gracious, we got a minute and a half left.
Oh, I didn't say the Tsunami products also. Give a clip for tsunamiproducts.com.
Yeah.
That's a wealth of information on there, not just for sales,
they're
but
going to see that one
data.
sitting on the screen all the time.
All right.
When I looked at that website, I was just thrilled to see from small to large, and it really is just
our webmaster Yulia Dudina has done huge amounts of research over the last 10, 12 years. She's really sharp in that area, so she's pretty well nailed it on a lot of these programs.
Yeah. It's really a good read, and by the end of it, I wish I had a piece of land. But now you got all kinds of things coming online. They can get those water from air units for their homes now, right?
Yep, they're available.
Right
we have one on island now, or we have two actually. We can do demos, so we'll keep posted and let know.
Well, if people can get in touch, I know they can. Well, we've got about 45 seconds. Ted, you've been a wonderful guest. I know you probably said, "Oh, I forgot to talk about this." Anything else you want to talk about, you are welcome back.
Okay.
You've been a welcome guest. Thank you, Ted Bowman.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. You guys out there, I hope that you will stay tuned and realize there are other great shows here on KAKU FM. And we're the Neutral Zone, MauiNeutralZone.com. Tomorrow you'll find this show up there on the web and on YouTube, and you can find it at Facebook, KAKU Radio. FM, we are going to leave you. Thank you for joining us. It has been a pleasure. Aloha.